Hello all and welcome to the channel. I can't quite believe it's June already. The Expo in the UK has been and gone. What a fabulous time that was. And here we are. I have got loads of juicy goodness for you guys today. So starting off as usual with some new games, and I'm very excited by this first one, which just popped up. Probably no one's ever heard of it, and it's called Fest Season, and it says it's coming out 2025. Now this is where players are hiring bands and building their venue to organise the best music festival. How awesome does that sound? It's got a solo option working all the way up to 5. Rather large playing time for now, 30 minutes to 100 minutes, and we're not sure on the complexity. But what are you doing then? So it says this is your chance to organise and host the most memorable festival of all time. You're hiring, the hottest bands, you're building up the fans' excitement, you're selling tickets to get strong attendances, you're building your venue, you've got consumables, attractions, sponsors, you're completing projects to accelerate your progress. Loads of great things. This sounds excellent, folks, and it kind of reminds me of that whole pret-a-porter, a strange theme but really core business aspects to it. And yeah, there's a little bit more here on the geek, but I am loving what I hear so far, and the artwork looks good here. I don't recognise the designer on this one, but yes, looking forward to that. Next then, we have a game called Mercato, if you pronounce that correctly, dominate the world's market. Now I was very excited by the look of this. I thought, wow, you've got this nice global sort of board here, but when I started diving into it, it kind of just seems like a rejig on Monopoly, which was a shame. So I might be a little bit more to it than I thought, but it wasn't on first impressions as depth as I'd hoped for. But anyway, if you're into that, here we go. The revolutionary strategy, negotiation and investment Euro type game, it says. 2 to 5 players, 30 to 90 minutes. Don't recognise the designer there, but basically you're dominating the world's market in this game where you're acquiring properties, sounds familiar, to gain control over key industries while navigating external events like wars, global warming, disruptive innovation and a pandemic. And you're enjoying trading and attempting these hostile takeovers on your quest for market dominance. Now I do still like the look of the board. It's colourful, not quite sure what's going on with the middle there. It's got paper money, never a big fan, but yeah, I'm curious to see what this does. It might just be some light-hearted fun, and I will bring more on that hopefully near the time. Next up then, comic book boom. So another comic book game. We've brought you Age of Comics in the past, another game I like there. This one plays 2 to 4, says it's uber quick, 30 to 45 minutes, and you become a comic kingpin in the booming 90s. But get too greedy and this boom will bust. Now I love the artwork style here. Look at some of these cards. They look kind of familiar to DC and Marvel there, but I like what they've done with the colours. And basically you've got sort of 3 different types of cards. It says you've got books, stunts and enhancements, and you're generally just trying to get these enhancements which have got like foil covers and holograms. You're trying to just develop your business and make the most money by the sounds of it, to acquire these cards, develop them and publish them. So yeah, I like what I see. I don't mind a quirky comic book game every now and then. Next then, I love the theme of this one, Tech Race. It reminds me a lot of a game I brought you guys a while back called Disrupt. And this one, you're building your starter and developing new technologies in a futuristic world. 2 to 5 players, 30 to 90 minutes, and it is where you are CEO of a tech startup. You're placing your first office on the map and you're developing these technologies. And the goal is to race to have the highest valuation on your starter. You're hiring, you're training employees, you're unlocking these abilities, you're building your company. And each employee has a salary as well. You have to keep on top of your payroll costs. You've got employees' actions to drive demand, you've got expanding your territories, obtaining customers, stealing from your competitors as well, collecting resources, developing those technologies I've probably mentioned twice, and resources are limited and you can exchange from other players as well. And there's something called lobbying at the end there as well, some policy cards you draw in each round. So with some chaotic events, it says. So I like the sound of this. Hopefully it's got a little bit of meat to it and the mechanics all work. But yeah, there we are. Next one, Cube Express. Have no images for this. Says it's out this year. Says you're vying for dominance on the rails in a back to basics cubes on a map train game. There's loads of these out. I spotted it. Hopefully there'll be more images soon on this one. But yes. Okay, that was the new games out there. games I have played. So I'm not going to include the games I've already mentioned from the UK Games Expo, which would kind of fall into the month of June. But I have managed to play quite a few on top of those. Birmingham was one of them, and I actually played at the Expo. Players, I really think this game is excellent at 2 players. It's excellent at all player counts, folks. And I probably got one of my best scores in this game. I absolutely manipulated the transportation. I think I managed to get all of my train network developed. I can't remember my score. It was something like 180, 190, something crazy. And in this game, I went all in on the iron and coal. I think I went on a beer strategy on this one. I tend to ignore the pottery. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with that. Really cracking game, and it is still an absolute blast. I actually managed to play a full playthrough, a full game of Windmill Valley, which was excellent, folks. You guys know that was a hit of the convention for me. Managed to full play pretty much a week later. Still excellent game, folks. Lots of little combos. You're developing your cogs, trying to make the most of those actions and get 2 actions if you can with those little plus symbols. And believe it or not, I actually managed to fill my tulip farm here with all of the tulips, which is crazy. My opponents were like, how have you even done that? So I managed to get all the additional actions and perks, which really escalated my game. And I just had a lot of fun with it, folks. I really managed to manipulate the waterways. I had some cracking actions at the top of my player board, you can see here, and it was really nice synergy. You know, every time I did a water action, I managed to get a tulip. And if I did 2+, I managed to harvest that tulip, which is kind of synergised into the max there. And equally, when I went down, I think I managed to get a +1 on the water, which got me some coins as well. I managed to get most of my windmills out, which scores me a load of victory points. So I think I pretty much had a lot of fun maximising the combos in this game, and it was just really enjoyable to watch. My opponents weren't that happy with me, but it's nice to see the true potential in this game and what you could achieve out of it. So lots of fun there. Looking forward to playing more. Next up, I played Ban San, which is a game I'm bringing to you guys. I think I brought it to you guys already, actually. Ban San, I brought you a review on this one. Yep, managed a couple of plays of this one. Nice game, folks. You know, it reminds me of sort of something like Byzan's, but a little bit more going on. You've got a lot more negotiation and bartering amongst players to, you know, get the goods you need to fulfill those shopping trolleys. So go and watch the review I brought you guys. But yeah, a nice game, this one. And next then, I managed a play of Future Inc. Now, it's a lot smaller game than I actually thought. It's just a really tiny box, and there is a lot of game going on in this box, folks. You are basically trying to, you know, build factories, and you're getting more production. But it's this sort of dynamic amongst the other players, because there's only so many products you can sort of get involved in. And then every time you build something, that it'll increase the demand of these products out there. And you then have to kind of fulfill that demand. And depending on the price, will determine if you get to sell your products first. And you're just constantly having to think about, how am I going to utilise my free actions? Am I going to go and actually build something so I can produce more? Or am I going to manipulate my price so it's cheaper than my opponents? Or am I actually just going to go and get some money and increase one of the demand tokens? And then eventually you're going to provide those products. And it's this jostle of position of who provides first and how much money you're actually getting. Because if you drop your price too low, you're not actually generating that much money. And you go for so many rounds, you're making the most money to do the win. Well, you're turning them into points, actually, I lie. And points are actually 1 for 1 with the money as well. So they are kind of equivalent. But then at the end of the game, you've got some massive combos with, you know, multiply of how many products you have, multiplied. So it's just a really clever pricing dynamic of that sort of demand and supply to an extent. And I guess the closest game I can compare this to is something like Arkwright the card game, and even aspects of Arkwright. But this is an absolutely fascinating game with that pricing mechanism. The art style isn't really for me. I would probably rather just really bland basic colours, like something off Shark, you know, that type of game. And it does actually confuse me slightly. I'm never really looking at the art on the cards themselves. I'm just looking at the production and the pricing. But it is superb, folks, and one of the best pricing mechanisms I think I've come across. Another game which isn't out yet, which I have played from, you know, a designer I've been lucky to meet, Photius, who's brought his market share. He has a similar pricing mechanism to this, so if you like this, look out for market share, folks. Right, next up, I managed to play of Village Rails. Now, I thought on first impressions this is just going to be, a card placement game and I'm making connections and scoring points. There's a bit of an economy here. You have got, well, the general essence of the game is, yes, you are all going to play 12 cards out. And these are going to complete rails. And as you complete a rail, you are trying to basically make the most victory points and most money to give you more options later on. And as you place them out, it depends on the terrain type as well and what sort of routes you've placed above them, to give you additional stuff. But they cost you 3 coins. And these cards are kind of laid out. So you can see you've got like 7 terrain cards. And they start off with the first one being no cost. But if you want one of the ones further up, you have to put a coin on each of the previous terrain types. You've got this interesting balance of, I really want that card, but that's going to cost me money to do so. And how am I going to generate more money to do other things? At least you get the first card for free if you're struggling for money. But I really like how the actual, I can't remember what they're called now, but there's like 4 trains on the side of these sort of extra routes and things you're trying to complete. Those really escalate your game, and there's so much of a puzzle to think about here. Just lots of crunchy decisions, which I really, really enjoyed. And you've also got these terminus cards, so when you complete a route, you play one of these down, and they kind of cover up one of the routes to show you've utilised it. And even if you haven't achieved anything on it, you're getting free money, which just keeps you ticking along nicely. But if you have managed to place the right terminus down, you can get, a lucrative amount of money. So just loads of nice things going on here. Really liked it. And I've also played Gigawatt Energy Revolution, which I'll be bringing to you guys soon on the channel. This is from the guys who brought us Gigawatt. It's just a streamlined game. This is kind of the prototype version here, but it's probably close to final production. And it's 2 to 4 players. It's all about card management. And you're doing the same things in essence to the bigger brother game, Gigawatt. You're just developing your nation and trying to get renewable energy sources and transition away from that dirty coal, station and that dirty gas. And eventually, if you have more electricity production than demand, and you can fulfill the cards for the weather, the outcomes of those, you win the game. Lots to like here, folks. It's really quick, a lot more streamlined, and it is low complexity. And I can imagine just playing this again and again when you're a little bit bored. You're like, right, I want a kind of game that's got a really nice theme, quite educational as well. And that was why they brought this out. They're targeting, more educational background here. So yeah, hopefully this will be out later on in the year. You can buy from their website as well. Okay, that was the games I played, as well as all those games at the expo. Right, random things I have seen then. First up, exciting news. Quinn Games are bringing back the long-awaited City of the Big Shoulder. It's been quite difficult to get a copy of this. I've got a friend who's got a copy, so I'm fortunate. But I know a lot of you guys have been after it. And it says it's coming to GameFound on August the 13th. So keep an eye out for that one. Next then, something crazy I saw. I couldn't quite believe it was Food Chain Magnet, but someone's had a crack at redesigning the cards. Very funky, not really my taste, but I just thought it was very interesting to see. You can see all the cards here. They've just basically reskinned all the employees and all the various cards in the game. Not quite sure why, but yeah, that's what they're doing. If you want to go and have a look at that, Frank Halabat, who has contributed to that on the geek. Clans of Caledonia Industria. I've been talking about this for a few months now. We've got some new clans, we've got an image here, there's a few more images on the geek as well, but look, we've got more options, which I really like. I've played most of the clans in the base game, and you kind of get familiar with them, and you're like, I really wanted that one that does, the milk or whatever it may be. Whereas here, yeah, there's 9 more, which I'm liking the look of. Next, Tonga Bonga. You're like, what is he on about? Tonga Bonga. So this is a crazy looking game that I have been after for a long time. Still, it's eluded me trying to find a copy. But the original one has some, crazy yellow cover art. You've got these ships, and in essence, you're trying to move these ships and the timing of it and how many actions you take. Depends, the multiplier, what points you get. I haven't played it, so I'm just making it up as I go along. But the actual core principle of it reminds me of Logistico. A game I really think I could introduce to my family and just have a really cool economic game, but just doesn't look like it. And this one is basically new cover art. This, unfortunately, looks like it's coming to Korea or somewhere in the east there. Hopefully, we can get hold of some copies over here in the west. Exciting news, folks. It's been out a little while, but it's not really been explosive, but Gavin Brown, who is one of the designers for obviously Brass Burger and that type, they are bringing out a sequel which is due to hit development. It's in at the stage at the moment and Kickstarter in Q4 this year. Guys, if you like Brass Birmingham or Brass Lancashire, all those games, this is a must. So exciting news, exciting times. We will see. Well, I will let you know when I see images and more about the gameplay. It's just been an announcement for now. And yeah, end of the year. Can't wait to see that one. We've got some more news on Nucleum. They've brought out another expansion. I haven't even played Australia yet, and I've managed to, as I've said, fit that in the core box. Now I've got to try and fit in this one, which is, I'm going to have no hope of fitting this one in. It's joining the political struggle and fight for influence in the Court of Progress. So that's the name of it, Court of Progress. There is a little bit of a description online. I haven't really got much here, but yeah, go and check that out. Seems to bring in a little bit of political sway there. And finally, Rainer Knizia's game, Merchants of Amsterdam, which I've not played. It's an older one from 2000. It says you trade in sugar, gems, spices and silk to become the richest merchant in Amsterdam. The cover art here looks very, typical Mediterranean type games like Concordia. I've heard it's a great game. They're bringing out a revised version at some point soon as well. So we'll see what happens there. So lots of good stuff here. There we are, folks. Bye for now.